Thank you so much, and thank you for agreeing to speak with me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Tell me what's happening? What do you
Yeah,
need?
yeah. I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
It'll be very brief.
Okay. Cool.
So let me see. Can you tell me a little bit about your work and why you chose to pursue it?
Sure. Do you want that in the context of Theater Without Borders or just in general?
In general.
In general. Okay. Oh, big question. Can you say it one more time, actually?
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell me a little about your work and why you chose to pursue it?
Yeah. Well, so I've been living and working in New York City for since 2000, so 26 years. Um, And before that had been I had studied at UCLA and then gone abroad to England at the University of Exeter there, gone back after I graduated and did some more work in England and then moved to New York in 2000. And um, my work, like all careers in the arts, I think goes on a little bit of a journey. And so I started out as a theater director, deviser, creator, but working internationally actually was really key for me in England, but then also because I have a Norwegian background. Oh, I would just realize I should change my name on the Zoom because since you're recording it so that it actually says my real name and not Works on Water. Um, and, uh, and so I was connected to the international theater scene in different ways, and then ended up translating and directing the works of Jon Fosse, who is a Norwegian playwright who won the Nobel Prize a couple years ago. And but I sort of realized that I had access to his work in because I speak Norwegian. So I kind of fell into translation because I wanted to direct his works, and then became very passionate about translation. And that's kind of right when I when Theater Without Borders was getting started, and I connected with Roberta and Kat around that kind of my passion for advocating for American English translations of his work. Um, and then, and that became a big focus for about 10 years. A decade of my career was devoted to bringing Fosse's works to the US and then also directing and creating new American works. Um, and then my career kind of moved towards more towards the visual art performance world. Especially because I was very moved by what happened during Hurricane Sandy, or I guess gutted, I should say, when it hit New York City, and we suddenly understood our vulnerability in a different way. And I kind of had this big wake up call and realization that about temporality. My work with Fossa and other things had always been about time and space, but I like understood in a different way how vulnerable we were. And so that kind of led me into, and I was at the time, I was kind of I was really rethinking what I wanted to do as a theater artist and words actually. And so um, anyway, lots of story to tell, but basically, I'm giving you the history. But basically, I ended up kind of doing this really big project that took me around the world. In relationship and thinking and working on sea level rise and climate change. It's called 36.5, a durational performance with the sea. And it's a series of works where I stand in bodies of water, or I stood, it's now complete, in bodies of water for a full tidal cycle. As the water rises up to my chin and goes back down again. That's the image you're seeing behind me. So that work in some ways is like really changed everything for me. And now I place my practice more in the visual art realm, but visual art performance, definitely connected to thinking to international things. Like I think I work really hyper locally with communities and then on a global scale. And so it's always, moving and shaping, and I'm always figuring it out, but I kind of think of, yeah, I guess I say now that I'm an interdisciplinary artist working at sort of in performance and video art and public art and conceptual art, kind of and really playing with scale and duration in relationship to um, ecological crisis, to deep time, and to embodiment, and the I and also with water, I decenter. I kind of purposefully play with decentering the human, and thinking more about the water as a collaborator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So what has been your role in Theater Without Borders and how has that affected your work?
Yeah, so I did. So Roberta had been at UCLA when I was an undergrad, actually. So that was 95 to 99. But we didn't really meet until New York, and it was probably 2000. It was must have been 2002 or 2003. And I was part of the Women's Project Directors Lab at that point. And I remember she came in as a guest, and she was talking about Theater Without Borders having just started. I wasn't at that initial meeting that happened at New Dramatist that Kat and Roberta and Eric and some other folks where it kind of gelled. But I was got involved pretty quickly afterwards because it was right, it must have been 2003 because it was right at the time when, or maybe even early 2004. Anyway, it was right at the time when Marie Louise Miller and I were working on, she was dramaturging for me as I was translating the first Fosse production, called Night Sings Its Songs. And so we started talking afterwards, and I was really kind of just in this moment um, of trying to figure, like realizing how little the American theater scene pays attention to the art of translation and how key translation is to understanding theatrical works from other places. And so we bonded about that. And then Marie and I kind of, I mean, it was very informal, but we sort of were the translation advocates for within Theater Without Borders. So I think working with Theater Without Borders throughout the years has been amazing. Roberta is incredible. Kat is incredible. Both, yeah, I've been introduced to some incredible people. Um, and it's all, I really admire the way that it's kind of, it's like it's never solidified into a nonprofit where it's raising money. It's just, it's like network, and it's people, it's community. It's so I feel like actually, especially Roberta kind of modeling the way she connects people is really, it's been a lesson for me. I consider her a mentor for me. And I think I've just learned so much from watching the way that she works, the and I think being like knowing actually that I'm this little person in New York and that I could connect to so many people around the world because there's a network. And I'm trying to think, but oh, like Kat and I went to Iraq together in 2012. And I don't totally remember how that came about, but I'm sure it was through Theater Without Borders, like, and Adelet. Yes, I'm sure that somehow Roberta met Adelet, and somehow Kat and I were there together. I don't remember the exact trajectory, but like that's a life experience that stays with me. And I have friends, I'm still connected to Dahlia in Egypt because of that trip, and Helia in Iran. And so um, I think Theater Without Borders has been very important for me. I still, I have it on my resume as like I'm a core member, and I, I, I think it's been really, yeah, foundational in terms of how I operate in the world. Um, but like even as I've kind of moved away from the theater, but Roberta and I especially, and Kat, we've all kind of connected about ecological crisis, and that's become a passion in many ways as well. So, watching each other grow and change into who we are as artists and people in the world, yeah, it's been really, really important to me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Let's see. How has Theater Without Borders affected the way that you see the world?
Um, yeah, I mean, just to kind of continue with what I was just saying, I think that um there's a couple things. Like there's real like knowing I mean I actually haven't thought about this till right now that you're asking that question, but I'm thinking that probably one of the reasons why I had confidence with 36.5, a durational performance with the sea. I did that work on 6 continents. And I'm guessing that one of the reasons I felt like confident that I could make that happen is because I knew that there was a network of people around the world and I who care about art. And um, even if I didn't necessarily always tap into the theatrical connections that are on the Theater Without Borders map, I feel like it gave no being part of Theater Without Borders gave me a sense that I could always reach out to somebody who could reach out to somebody who could connect me to somebody who could help me make this thing happen, you know? And so I think, yeah, I think that it's given me I'm just realizing now how important that probably was for the work that I've done. Because now, in some ways, now I'm like, wow, I don't even know how I did. Like, it's a little crazy thing that I did. But I do feel like it's understanding that the world is reachable, that it's always possible to reach somebody um, on the other side of the planet if you want to, and to hear their story and to be connected, and that artists are ambassadors in a really different way than and that we all speak a language that is um, so you can connect with anyone around the world in relationship to artistic practice. That is always going to be um, there's a layer of communication that just works when you're connected to artists, and that we are the best diplomats. I really believe that, and that is how that's just really important to keep that network alive. I think the other thing that I really hadn't, um, the other thing that working with Theater Without Borders, because some of the work that many of the people who are involved are doing is really in relationship to justice and helping make like in war-torn countries, and the people who are having to escape because of their them being threatened because of their artistic practice. So like I think also just a greater sense of understanding of the world and the realities of how art can be dangerous in other places. That I haven't I mean I have some friends who have experienced that for sure, but I have not been in direct I have not had that direct experience myself, but understanding and having a greater empathy for what is going on in terms of the world and understanding political conflict through the lens um, of artists is something that I think I have definitely learned from or taken or there has been valuable in my connection with Theater Without Borders for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And how has your work with translation for a decade, how has that affected Theater Without Borders, do you think?
Um, how has it affected Theater Without Borders? I mean, I don't know. I think that it was a long time ago now that was really that we were doing that. But I think it was, you know, I jumped in on that because I was really young and passionate. And it was, I think Theater Without Borders had started and wasn't actually thinking so much about translation, but thinking more about exchange. So I think it was good to have kind of a translation um, arm, I guess. And that we did some great things. And actually, it's funny, occasionally, like I remember a couple years ago, I was in another translation conversation because there's a translation community that kind of grew out of what we were doing, but then also other what other people were doing and what had been done before. You know, none of it is new, but there I am still kind of in a network of translators, and I was part of a translation conversation a few years ago, and I remember that one of the frameworks for a question that we were asked that we were asked was exactly like the same thing that we had written 20 years ago. And I was like, "Oh, they're still using our questions and framework." And I was like, "Oh, that it made me really happy actually because it was like it was just realizing that whenever you do something, you know, sometimes it just disappears, but then sometimes it gets passed down and generations of artists are still kind of thinking about the same things and that there's the history of that is actually really really important. So um, I don't know. I think that I hope that the work that we did around translation and advocacy for translation, I hope that it really kind of changed a few things. I don't know. The theater world is really struggling, and I think it's still it's, you know, we're still in a place where I believe that that committing to good translations is really beneficial on so many levels. I know how hard it is to get anything produced. But I think I believe in the value of working to translate things, both for the individual artists who are involved and for the greater public. And I hope that it moved the needle and shifted a few people's perspectives, and that Theater Without Borders, you know, has I mean, there's such a vast amount of work that that people involved have done, and I think that yeah, I love anything that kind of documents the history of that and makes sure that that is recognized as an important moment in time in our arts world and space. So yeah, I hope it has been influential. I think also my relationships, you know, just my connection to Roberta and to Kat and to the Theater Without Borders team. Um, I don't know, that's maybe also one of the really strong, important values of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more question for you. Do you have any final thoughts about like Theater Without Borders at large that you think would be important to know?
Um, I mean, I think I'm curious. I think it's so important actually. And I also think that I'm not sure exactly what's happening with it right now because I haven't I'm not maybe at the core of the conversation right now. Um, but I think that I hope that the world knows that for these first 2+ decades of the 21st century that there were a group of people who um, came together, a group of artists who came together um, with the real passion for connecting to each other and to connect to other artists around the world and to form networks and to um, keep it real, to keep it loose, to keep um, to keep it going, to not succumb um, to the, you know, corporate greed or even the nonprofit system of how things get done, but to just do it by um, connecting and by making things happen in the way that artists know how to make things happen, without money, without resources, but just to with the sole purpose of like connecting to each other throughout the world. Um, it's a really intensely moving endeavor, and has been a very successful one and influenced um, myriads of people, and we have all benefited from the drive of the people who have led us, and there are so many things that countless things that yeah that are pivotal moments in our lives because of the care that has gone into creating this network. And I am forever grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Yeah. You're a Bennington intern right now and you're done today, I heard.
Yes.
And congratulations
Thank
on
you.
have you had a good time
I
working with
have, yeah, it's been
that?
wonderful.
Good. Amazing. Awesome. Well, yeah, I saw that email from Roberta, so I'm glad to have been part of it, and thanks for squeezing me in, and hopefully, you know, stay in touch in the future.
See you too.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.